Greetings everyone. Welcome to today's session of Monday Munching and Musing with Women for Water. This session is conducted with the support of Water Resource Council of the Women Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry in collaboration with W4W Foundation and media partner Counterview. My name is Anubhuti Shekhar and I am the National Youth Representative Community of Wiki Water Resource Council. I am joined today by Dr. Mansi Balbhargav, who is currently holding the position of National President of Wiki Water Resource Council. Welcome, Mansi. We are so glad to start the conversation, namely Monday Munching and Musing with Women for Water, which we colloquially refer as Blue Lips. The conversation is aimed to share the worries and the wisdom by the woman, for the woman, of the woman in the water sector. In here, we hope to learn about the water endeavors of the women in a regular disciplined manner like a masterclass. Today, in this session, we are here to listen and know more about Swayamprabha Das. Welcome, Swayam ma'am. We are so happy to have you on today's session. I will just give a short bio of hers. Dr. Swayamprabha Das has done over 25 years of progressive work in the field of program development and management, policy formulation and advocacy, communication and community engagement. Her scope of work spans across sustainable development goals, human development, skill development, environment and climate change, wildlife conservation, and social sector development. She has experience working with corporate sector, non-profit organizations like WWF, IUCN, LEAD Lead India, government sectors like Niti Aayog, Planning Commission of India, Ministry of Environment and Forest, and UNDP. Welcome, Swayam ma'am. To start the conversation, I would love to know, how did you decide that you want to work in the field of water, and how are you currently engaged in the water field?
Thank you so much for this warm welcome and the introduction. Water for me was a very natural thing to come because my father is a professor in microhydro projects. So visiting small dams, microhydro dams, and all of these places was instilled into me when I was very young. So it was a natural attraction for me to work on waters. And this happened more as I started working in the environment sector. And it was more or less like oceans, water, blue economy, and marine conservation and things like that. But water as such actually came into focus when I started looking at the SDGs. And when I looked at the SDGs, and I realized that that's one where we are actually not doing very well in the as we made those progress. And I realized that women are also not being taken, the work that we are doing as women is not being taken into account as much as we would have wanted to. So that was the major connect. And then I started looking at the kind of women who have been contributing, not just as scientists, but also the grassroots. And that is when I was working with UNDP, and I was having a conversation with some colleagues in CV and UNDP hub, and we just realized that this could possibly be one of the areas that we could focus on and see how women are doing, how we can build a network of grassroots women who are contributing so much to conservation of water, distribution, accessibility, and yet are the unsung heroes. So it started with that, and unfortunately the COVID hit. So we were kind of constrained by a lot of things out there. But then the campaign team came through. We had almost like 20 organizations partnering, nominating from the field. So we have good 41 women water champions that we could recognize and take forth. And also when we talk about water, we also talk about its connect to health, well-being. And when I was doing the marine ecosystem, that was with WWF, when we were talking about, the interlinking of rivers. And it would always bother me that, two rivers would never have the same chemical or the biological or the same kind of organisms in there. So how would those interlinking work? So it's very deep. It goes way back, but it continues still through human development, skill development, green jobs, and all the work I have done. Thank you, Anubhuti.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Like when I read your bio, I think there is everything related to environment and the water field that you have worked on, or you are sort of you want to work in. So over these years of like working on the field, talking to all these communities, did you ever face any such challenge talking to these people, or in your life in general, that you would like to share with us?
Plenty, actually. When I started working in the field, that was early 2000. And at that point in time, people did not know what the NGOs were and what the work that they were doing. So there was always a kind of misconception, misperception that, we would take advantage of them. So it was like that, uh, lack of belief in the good that we bring to them. So that was the big challenge. So how do you build that faith, that belief system? I felt with the communities was a big thing. Now they're more open. Now they are willing to work. But at that point of time, they would look at you with, oh, she's here for some reason, right? She's here for her benefit. But they won't understand that we would like to be a catalyst with them to help them grow. So I think that was my biggest challenge in the field, is to build that trust factor. So that was a big challenge. But the rest, it came easy. Once you do it, they start believing you, it becomes easier.
Right. Ma'am, I'm sure that you have spent like all these years, you must have given all these talks or like have been engaged in several such conversations, but you must be always talking about water in general or the environment. But we are here to mostly talk about you and how over these years, how you have developed. Like, what were your challenges being a woman in the water? What were your challenges? Did you ever face any sort of compromise being in the family, being a woman? How was your journey over the years? Other than the water in general, how have you been?
My journey has been, I think, very kind. I have had a very kind profession. I come from a family where both my aunts, my buas, one is a professor in Sanskrit, the other is a doctor. So I come from a very learned and a very, how should I say, family where women are respected. My mother and my aunt, even though they were homemakers, but they always had a say in all the family matters. So my grandfather and my grandmother both made sure that the women have a voice in the family. And that is very important because I grew up having a voice in my family. And my in-laws have been also very kind to give me that space and support. So I think I'm very blessed when it comes to it, because being a professional woman, working, traveling, I used to travel almost like 15 days in a month after my marriage. But my husband was like very kind enough to uh, never interfere. In fact, he encouraged me. He and my brother were like, no, no, you need to travel. If you haven't traveled, you get very irritated. So you have to travel. So that was their way of saying that, oh, you need to go away so that we can party without you or something. But they have been very supportive, both my family and my in-laws. So I'm very lucky and very blessed. So on the family front, it's not been a big challenge, because when I got my Hubert Humphrey Fellowship, I had a baby. She was just about 1.5 years old. And both my dad and my father-in-law both stood with me and they said, no, this is your chance. Just go and we will take care of her. And that's what they did. My in-laws took care of my daughter, and she was just 1.5 years old. So it was very tough for me. It was very tough for my daughter, but we sailed through because of the family. So I think that's that's a big help and support that I have. And today I'm a working woman. Today I can smile and share my story because of the family and the support system that's there with me. With friends also who checked on my daughter, on me every time we are away, and checked on my husband. So truly blessed. Professional front has been very challenging. They don't like women who have a mind of their own, for sure. They don't like a woman who's educated. They don't like a woman who can talk straight. They like a woman who would say yes, sir, and yes, sir, and yes, sir, or yes, ma'am. But they don't like a woman who says, sir, I agree, but I agree to disagree. So that's so I had a big problem at work because I like to believe and I like to work on the path that is good for everybody. It's not always that you get a chance where you can make a difference, but I have worked on projects where I could actually bring about that change or that difference to it. And I would like to say that I have had very good bosses also, very supportive bosses. My present boss is also very supportive. So they also make a lot of difference how you are respected, and how you move forward. A lot depends on the faith and trust that your boss has on you, and that's a great learning. So I've done some good work with BMS Rato, who was my boss in the Ministry of Environment Affairs. I'm doing pretty good with my present boss in G20 Secretariat, Mr. Ashish Sinha. He's a Joint Secretary level officer, but I really value his opinion, and we have a very, very good understanding on how we work. So I think being respected at work is very important. And saying this, I have had very tough women bosses. And I left my jobs twice because of very strict or a very different kind of women. And that's one thing I always feel, that women should be pulling women up. They should not be pushing them down. And I'm so glad, Mansi, that here at Wiki WRC we are actually pulling each other up, pulling each other through. And I love this space because here women don't push women, women pull women. And that magnet and that kind of a mindset is what I really missed at work. But that was a great learning for me, which I bring to Wiki WRC, that we support each other and we move forward and recognize each other. We are not a threat to each other. We all come with our own, qualities, with our own expertise. So how we build it together. So I really hats off to all the women here at Wiki and WRC, that we have such a good bonding and we're moving forward together. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Like you mentioned about how you have got a very good support from the family, but not very much like maybe in the start, but not very much. It has been easy at the professional level. So over the years, how have you balanced your work and family life? Like how have you managed home and work? Would you like to give us a brief idea about that?
Managing home and work, I think it's a lot of discipline and hard work. That's the baseline. So if you're disciplined enough, then you are able to pull both through together. It's not tough. You just need to prioritize home when you need to, and you need to prioritize work where you need to. So what I did was, essentially, in the morning, I wake up and my home is my priority. My family is my priority. But once I'm getting ready, I'm off to work, then work is my priority. So whatever time I put into my work there, I don't entertain phone calls until unless it's a necessity, it's an emergency. And when my dad was there, the only thing that I ever told my boss was, if my dad calls, I have to take that call. And that was the baseline for me. And everybody appreciates that, right? And when I am outside home, it's work. When I'm outside office, it's home. And so you have to, like, I consciously choose not to drive, because when I'm in the car and I'm leaving home, I start planning my day for work. And I do all my phone calls that's needed. I arrange my schedule of the day and prioritize. And when I'm leaving office, I switch off office and I switch on home. So then I'm a homemaker. So I pick up vegetables, fruits, whatever food I need to, or whatever errands I need to do, I try and do it that way. And luckily, Saturdays and Sundays have always been off for me. So the family never gets neglected that way. But they also know that if it's work for me. That is my priority. And that's my identity also. So my daughter, my husband have been very kind and very understanding. One thing I did, Anubhuti, was I would always take my little girl to my workplace. So she knows and appreciates what a mother does. She understands that mama needs to work. Mama is working with these people. Mama is working on these issues, and they are all very important issues. What she is doing is very important. So she learns to appreciate, she being a young girl, a young woman, and hopefully she's also going to be a professional like us, you, me, and Mansi. So she needs to imbibe those qualities. She needs to appreciate what her mother does, to appreciate and be more fulfilling in her life as well. So that has been my endeavor. So every workplace she visits and she gets to meet my bosses. She shakes a hand with them and she knows who I work with. So I guess I've done well balancing both work and home till now.
Right. That's wonderful to hear, ma'am. Uh, Thank you so much for sharing everything. I would just request Mansi ma'am to take it from here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anubhuti. Thanks for getting the conversation started. And I'm seeing how the conversation is flowing. And it's good to have Swayam, to really have you talk about yourself, because we are so much into water that we can go on and on talking about water. But when it comes to ourselves, we have, as women, we have been always, keeping ourselves as the last priority, and that also is getting, represented in the way women in water sector is, because we are present, but we are absent. So my first question comes to you is, while we are celebrating a woman in the water sector through our sisterhood approach of Wiki Water Resource Council, and we are trying to do other things also together, and I know you have been working extensively with the women, with the water endeavors, and also inspiration for taking this work came from the compendium, which was, your one of your babies in professional life, which is UNDPCV, Ministry of Jal Shakti, compendium of women from the grassroots. And here we are talking about women from the professional field. I'm sure you have also realized, like myself, that we can find many women in the grassroots level where they are really hardcore leaders, and they have changed the face of the village. They have changed the face of their localities or neighborhood. When we come to the professional side, there are still many women, but still when we want to talk about women in the leadership role, the path is longer, and we find very less women. First of all, percentage of women is way too less, even at the global standards. You are aware about it, 1 in 5, and India fares worse than that. Where do you think we are really lacking? Probably not lacking, or where is this gap that we are present yet we are absent in, especially in the leadership? Professionally, probably we are many in numbers, even if it is less by the world standards. But if I have to look at the pyramid, leadership becomes even, almost invisible, not there for that matter. What is it? I mean, what's your opinion?
Mansi, this is a very critical issue because, as I have seen, women have to strive double. It's a double burden on women, right? So it's unfair to say that we have a fair or equal chance with the men. No, we don't have. The men can, just go away to work without thinking about the family, without thinking about the food, the children, the elderlies. A woman can't do that. So it's
Yes.
very unfair to have a metrics which actually measures them on the same scale. It's not there, right? So women are always taken to be at a very disadvantaged stage because our priorities are also dependent on where we stand within the family. One, the kind of responsibilities and burdens we share, nobody understands. The men don't, for sure, not in the corporate ladder, definitely. We always say that equal pay and equal opportunities, but in reality, there are always biases which are there.
Yes.
Biases because we ourselves don't help another woman to climb up the stairs. And that is something I've seen, you know. You have to actually struggle a lot more to be within that bracket. So leadership, even if you have a leadership quality, either it is kind of, how should I say, pushed down, or you are not allowed to express yourself. You are taken to be more aggressive. If I put a point across as a leader, I would be called, oh, you are very aggressive. A man does that, he's strategic. So those definitions, first and foremost, needs to be kind of resolved. They cannot be two different metrics. Yeah. I'm not saying that women should be given a favorite role or men should not be given a favor, given any consideration. That's not it. The whole concept of leadership is someone who can take on those responsibilities, and women can. The only problem is it's a men-driven world. We have seen how many manuals we have.
Yes.
Trying to struggle to get even one woman as a speaker is such a big deal. So हमारी जहन में ही नहीं है कि हम औरतों को वो जगह दें.
True.
It's not in our mindset.
Even in women's mindset. That is the ironic part.
Exactly. So, and I feel that why should women fight for their space? वो तो आनी चाहिए ना. It's an automatic thing, but it doesn't happen automatically. So I feel that if you are there, you should find women in the lower rank that you can mentor, you can build them up, and you can bring them to a level where they can be leaders in their own areas. And nobody's a threat to anybody, you have your strength, I have my strength. So not till we change our mindsets that we will move forward. And mindset should be very, very open. Very open to the sense that, it has to be a platform where we are heard. We are not dismissed.
Yes.
And that is a big struggle that I feel that, not till you are heard will you ever get that space to be a leader. You have to have men and women, Nancy. Yeah, you have to have men and women who are going to be the mentors, who are leaders themselves, who would give you the space to lead. And that's very rare. Because we are so much caught in our own biases, in our own insecurities, that it's, if I have struggled, I'll ensure that you have struggled.
Yes, that's ironic, huh?
It's very ironic. But the fact is, if I have struggled, I know what it is. So I should help someone else not to face those hurdles, right?
Yeah, that's a true leadership side.
Yeah. So it's very rare. And leadership qualities, I feel, are inborn.
Yes.
I feel it's inborn. It's not like something can teach you leadership. Nobody can teach you leadership.
Seriously?
I really feel so. All these executive classes you have, coachings you have on leadership skills and all. No, they sharpen your skills.
Yes.
But they don't give you leadership skills. You are a born leader. these things, these kind of skilling, these kind of courses only helps you enhance it.
And also realize it, that probably it is there in me or not, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And these are personality traits, right? So not everybody is a born leader. And not everybody can, even with a lot of coaching, guidance. No, you can only sharpen your skills. And I truly believe that. People can be good managers. People can sit at the top. They can be program directors. They can be the
They can be
CEO.
bosses, but not leaders, actually. They are two different things.
Absolutely. And a woman who is a vegetable seller can be a leader.
Yes.
You know, and I've seen women who sell fish, because I worked a lot in the marine sector. The fisher women were true leaders. And I have experienced that in Rushikulya, when the Sarpanch's wife was actually calling the shots for marine turtle conservation alongside me than the men of the village. And she was truly, truly a leader. She was telling me what needs to be done, how fishing happens, how marine turtle conservation happens, how things happen. But unfortunately, now if you look at the conservation field, both water or in the oceans, you would see more of men and very few women.
Yes.
Yeah? So hard truths about leadership.
Yes, yes. You know, I mean, leadership as a concept is genderless. You know, it's a neutral position. It should be for all. But just because the sector is male dominated and the path to attain that leadership, you are already saying that it's something which is born. But even if it is a born trait, there are many women we know now in our own group as well, and many outside in our own networks, despite having many qualities, and despite they themselves realizing that they have those inherent leadership qualities, because of the environment which we often call as creating enabling environment and all those kind of things, you know, in all these training programs, still women have a longer path to the you know, to attain the leadership. So when we are talking about leadership, it's not only becoming the director or CEO, it's about someone who actually can mentor others and let others learn how to lead. And this is also something which I think we both can discuss and also distinguish between these two things, that I mean, a boss is not a leader, but a leader can be a boss. You know, they are not synonymous to each other. But what is quite interesting to hear from you, and I completely agree with you, that leadership traits are inborn. You can only sharpen those skills. So let us just discuss about what kind of skills which are really seen as, you know, that these are leadership traits, and what kind of skills you think as of now in the water sector, when we know so many women around us, we require to really sharpen those skills. One is definitely, I think we both were brought up in that state of, you know, childhood, I must say. I was also very blessed to be really speaking my mind all the time. No matter what is the consequences, first speak your mind and heart. We will see the consequences. And I can learn from you. You were also groomed like that. You know?
Yeah, Mansi, and very bad consequences.
Yes, and bad consequences. I still remember my father used to say, बाद में हम देख लेंगे. सच होना, तुम सच की जगह खड़े हो तो कुछ भी करो, जो मर्जी है, बाद में मैं देख लूंगा. So anyway, having been groomed like that, we speak our mind and we face consequences even as of today when we talk about it in all professional spheres, personal spheres. But let's say when we are talking about, you know, skilling some things about it. And it's not about Swayam or Mansi. I mean, we are talking about the many women we know and we have in network. What kind of basic skills we can really develop, or not develop, but sharpen. Let's say you use the word sharpen, I remember. So basic skills that are required in leadership, and let's say they have them, but how do we make them realize, or how do they sharpen them? What kind of skills?
Mansi, the first thing that comes to my mind is about communication,
Yes.
because I come from a communications background,
Yes.
starting off from there. And I feel that whatever, wherever you are, how you communicate. The second, the minute you open your mouth, the way you talk, the way you address, it actually makes friends
Makes it.
or builds your enemies. So a leader has to be very polite, firm, yet be able to communicate the ideas very clearly to the people around. I feel that is the first thing, because having a vision, having a clear communication are two keys to a good leader. You should know what you're talking about and how you are communicating that. So that is very important. The second thing I feel is the emotional quotient. For a leader, it is very important to understand and appreciate everybody's position around you. You cannot be not compassionate. You cannot not show empathy. Yet you would like to build some firmness into it so that whatever your common vision is, common goal is, you should as together as a team be able to reach there. You have to also understand and appreciate each other's possibly the strengths and the weaknesses. So a good leader always says we,
Yes.
never says I. Yeah. So
Absolutely.
it's about we going forward together, walking along together. So that's very important. How you communicate the word we, us, is very important. And that only comes from understanding and appreciating the other person's strength, showing compassion, having empathy, and being true to the vision. And this all needs a very high emotional quotient. So if we can, if we can sharpen our skills of communications, that would be the first step, I think. The second thing, the second step would be on having a very clear vision and mission, which is very important. What are we driving at? What are we pushing towards? A leader without a mission and vision is wayward, is lost. So
Yes.
having that, so how do you identify, how do you build that common vision is very important. And you need to have some skills as a negotiator, some skills as a visionary. So a leader is a mix. He or she is a blend of a lot of things, attributes. And you have to demonstrate very high levels of virtues as well. You have to be like, I wouldn't say Sri Ram or something like that, but very virtuous. Like, you should not come across as biased, corrupt. So it's very, very important that you are building it up in a
Righteous.
way that people
Will you use
respect.
the word righteous? Righteousness.
Righteousness, yes, and being respectful. These are the attributes. So I feel that it's very important that being righteous is very, very important. So
So practicing the path you are preaching, probably to a large extent. One has to do that.
I try to. We are all faltering.
We are all striving for it. Yes.
Yeah, we are all striving towards it. We try to be as virtuous, as righteous as we can in our own field. Being true to your own work is very important,
Very
Mansi.
important.
And that is what makes us what we are today. So, but a good leader has to have a very firm determination, good communication skills is what I feel, and should be a good negotiator and a networker. If you don't network, you don't go anywhere as on today.
Anywhere, absolutely. And actually, that brings me to a question related to the platform. And you have been part of several associations related to the field, related to profession. And when we have these kind of platforms where we are part of it, for example, this is just for example, as a Wiki Water Resource Council, how do we think we must really do certain activities, or how should we engage together to bring a difference to the lives of the women, both who are vulnerable, but at the same time, the lives of the women whom we are talking about, grooming them as future leaders. What kind of activities we should engage as a platform, as a team here? You are part of the National Council for Outreach, and you have been extremely supportive in really doing all these side activities which we are trying to do. And for example, the upcoming World Water Week, where we are all going to put up a show in the gold standard. So more activities, what you think we should be really doing. So some suggestions so that we can start working towards it. I mean, it's just 1.5 years old. We are trying to build the trust and relationship between each other. But once we know each other a little bit better, all of us, we can start doing certain things. So what are those things which we should work on? Two pillars, I must say. Women who are actually on the vulnerable side, facing the water crisis more than anyone else, and women who are professional and actually who are working towards the other women. And that's the whole idea, to really build a professional network, that we can, one professional woman can actually be, help for many women who are in the vulnerable situation. So your opinion on those things?
Thank you. Mansi, I think I must appreciate and commend you for the great work that you're doing.
Thank you.
You're actually building this platform, which is so different. And there are women who are in so many different ways and working so far and wide in so many different sectors. And you've done a very commendable work of bringing them together. And I really appreciate what you've been doing and how you have also kind of decentralized it. So it's not, everything is not, you're not holding on to everything.
No, and I don't believe in that. It's we.
You are allowing for the state level presidents and these women to actually build their own team. Yes. And that's a great leadership skill that you have, is you are actually helping them. And wherever I have joined or others have joined, we bring in those little nuggets that add to the entire discourse. And I very fondly remember the discussion we had about in Orissa.
Yes.
And we're talking about having these conferences and workshops and stuff. And I realized that there is something that I can also contribute a little bit, but how we can design it, because I have been designing a lot of workshops. I have been curating them. I'm coordinating them. So that's my strength. So I felt that I could bring that strength into the discussions, into the network, and it was accepted, it was appreciated, which made feel very valuable. You know, I feel that these kind of little gatherings, not huge, you can't do it in a 20, more than 20 or 30, but these small networks where, one of us could teach them what we know. For instance, I can tell them how to curate a workshop, how to build stakeholders forums, how to do a networking, because I feel that this is something I've learned on the way. There was nobody to teach me. I've learned it the hard way. It took me a long time. But if I can transmit this knowledge to others to help them, how do you curate? How do you build these questions? How do you form these groups? How do you make a panel? And what do you don't do in a panel, which is very important.
Yes.
So if I do something like that, it's more practical, it's more helpful for people who are already professionals. One more thing that we could do is from a communications, I'm talking from my experience,
Of course, yes.
So the other thing that I can help do is how you can do write shops.
Yes.
We all know, we all write very scientific. We use a lot of jargons that really doesn't appeal to people. How do you
increase the outreach? I mean, we have to write the way it should increase the outreach rather than telling those who already know about it.
Absolutely. And how do you say that in very simple words? right? So these ride shops are very important. So ride shops could be something where it can be from a simple to a technical, or from a technical to a simple. So we as women, because we come from very various backgrounds and we already have such great women scientists with us, so it's always a challenge on how they can communicate it in a very subtle, with brevity and clarity, and in a very short way. We have seen women who talk about their work in water treatment, in working with the communities, and they can go for hours. I appreciate that, because it's a whole
They have so
passion
much
that they,
knowledge.
yeah, passion that they bring. I would love to hear them for hours. But when you are in a group, how can you just put it into 3 minutes? Those are the subtle things that we need to work on as a group. The
Wow.
third thing that we need to work on is how we build this network and train each other.
Yes.
Yeah. So probably there are new nuggets, new things like, say, water climate nexus. So we have to start talking about interlinkages. So if you're talking about water quality, you have to also talk about water accessibility. You have to also talk about, say, other processes which also where the communities are a part of it. So it has to be an interlinked kind of a thing. It's a chain, you know. So you have to talk about it in a very interconnected way. You cannot talk about it as a standalone. So I think that is the third thing. Sorry, you asked for two, but I'm giving
No,
you
no,
the third.
no. I think the number is not limited, to be honest, because we have to start working on it now, because it takes some time to know each other and build that trust that, okay, we will work together, because 90% of the people in the platform didn't know each other. So now we are slowly building that relationship. So now we have to start thinking, how can we pull each other up together.
Absolutely. And Mansi, I feel that we have to look at this interconnectedness in the work, you know. So if they are working with communities like we're trying to do with the CV Water
Yes,
Week right now,
absolutely.
we're trying to build that interlinkages, right? So we're
Yes,
not talking about, say, one aspect, but we're trying to link it to policy, to science, to communities. So we have kept all of these three as overlap and as interconnected. These are locks, right? So
yes,
this is what we need to talk more often within Wiki WRC. We need to bring in people who are vocal and yet not vocal. So we have to make a combos. And I feel if you can do a buddy system, or, if you can, I don't know, I have been a little out of it, but I know we have them grouped, right?
yes.
According to their interests. So we should do a workshop with like-minded women who are working in this field.
Similar sector.
Yeah, similar sector. So they have a kind of, bonding, building it up, and then you do it in a very different sector. So
Yes,
there is a combination of coherence, and then there is disruption.
yes.
I think we should do something like that, where maybe, I don't know how we do it, but that's a thought that I had, is like you have one part of the workshop where you have like-minded people sitting in groups. And then all of a sudden you break them up in the next
Change.
workshop, and then you have them bond over something which is as simple as water in your tap,
Yes,
right? Or how do you make a good cup of chai, for instance, and get them to talk on that, which is like something which is not very technical or not very to them. It's something which is common,
yes.
which affects all of us, right? So we have to experiment. So there is never always a good one solution. And I feel that workshops and talk shops, I call them talk shops also, because you sometimes get
I
them to
hear
talk
some
about.
beautiful words from you, right shops and talk shops. And I really love them because they feel so close and doable, you know.
And they're appealing, because workshops are like too much, too heavy on your head.
Like working
And
there. Yes.
I know. So when I do it with the young kids and young children, when I talk to them about environment, which I'm very passionate about, when I talk about Antarctica and the penguins. So what I do is I throw a lot of pictures at them and I get them to weave a story for me. I don't tell them anything. I ask them to weave a story. So that also helps because then you are also kind of asking them to visualize.
Yes.
And students and women, children, everybody is pretty aware of what's happening. So you just have to give them cues and they weave a story. And then you pick on that story and then you tell them what's the scientific basis, evidence, and that builds a whole narrative and it's not boring, trust me.
Absolutely.
So you have to experiment, but I feel talk shops and write shops are better than workshops
Yes.
any day.
And I think the way we were discussing in bringing, and I'm sure you and I and all other team members, especially the way we met for the Odisha meet, because I'm also super excited to really do something more often with all of us. I'm aware that not all of us can join in every meet, but at least if we have those options, sometime in Delhi, sometime in Ahmedabad, this also gives an opportunity to all of us to even de-stress, but at the same time look for future collaborations, and that has to be taken very seriously, because if we want to really work together, we have to also first emotionally connect before we professionally connect, and that's extremely important. So we are trying to do it digitally, but these physical regional workshops, I remember doing the Haryana workshop with led by Chandini. It was so nice. I mean, there's so many Wiki women joined, and many people, nearly 100 people joined the workshop. So if we can really do it more regularly, we are trying now for Chennai, and of course you are part of the Odisha team. So to work on it, and that can be actually the national thing which we are planning for, but it's going a little slow. But yes, very well taken, all your points. That brings me to a last question from my end, then I will hand it over to Anubhuti for more interesting questions. My question to you is that when we are part of these kind of platforms or associations, and I'm not restricting it to Wiki, but let's say, for example, as a member, as a council member, we also have some kind of expectation, and often they may not be met, but just to understand from you, when you join this council, I'm sure you must be also thinking about some kind of support system, some kind of way the council can really offer something. What kind of things you think other council members and Swayam herself really anticipates or envisages from these kind of councils? I'm sure you are a member of many other associations and councils, but it will be good to know so that we can really start matching, what we can offer. As you mentioned, very nice ideas, what we can offer, but at the same time, what I would like to get from the council or platform. Your thoughts?
Mansi, to be very honest, I was so overwhelmed to be amidst so many women. I don't have any expectations because every day is a learning. I don't want to limit myself by setting boundaries, with expectations. Yes. So my life is very open. I live as it comes. So Wiki WRC was something that I was awed with, to be very honest. And it was also the next level. As you know, I started off with the 41 Women Water Champions. So this was something that actually was like, oh, wow, this is now more on the professional front. So it made me feel nice and happy about it, actually. And I don't have any expectations.
But in general, let's say other council members, there are youth, and there should be. Why I'm asking this question, why I should join a council. So because we all have to really bring more council members, so we should know why I should join council.
I think I'm here to learn, to network, to know more people, what's happening around me, because I feel knowledge is power.
Yes.
And I truly believe that. And I know for sure that Wiki WRC is not a job for me. So yes. I come here unbound, unbridled, with a very open mind.
Absolutely.
And I feel a little bad because because of my G20 work and others, I've been like very caught up and have not been able to contribute. But I would like to lead a lot of workshops, design workshops, do more hobnobbing with the council members.
And
I've
we have
only,
good youth, good
yeah,
bunch of youth, huh?
yeah, I would like to meet them actually, and probably do some um, conversations with them and build some youth forum, maybe on some good topics that they would like to work on. And it's at a very different level. And I feel that I'm from Orissa, so I'm more connected to that group. It's organic,
Yes,
not intended, but it just happened. And Mamta is such a beautiful person, so when she reaches out, I can barely say no. But I
absolutely.
would really love doing that for all the regions because I don't want to be biased. I'm here
Absolutely.
as a national outreach coordinator, and please rope me in, Mansi. I'll be free after, say, September 15th. I'll have more time on my hands and I would like to contribute more actually. And rope me in whenever you are having a discussion, dialogue. Just send me an invite and whatever, wherever possible. You've seen me,
I'm going to
coming
dump you
into.
more responsibilities from September. So I get a signal now.
Absolutely, absolutely. August, and then we do the September. So I
Absolutely.
do a lot of work with IUCA and also with their platforms. And as you know, I'm the Deputy Regional Vice Chair for IUCA and for their policy, which is called CIS, Commission on Environment, Economic and Social Policy. I'm also on their Ecosystem Management Commission with their Education and Communications Commission. I do all of this apart from my Humphrey work, and anything else that comes my way is always what I like doing. So, but yes, my commitment to Wiki WRC has been less fulfilled, and I'm mindful of that. But let's see, and do let me know wherever you need me.
Sure.
A very pointed questions, very pointed ask, and I'm here.
But and you have been helping. Actually, it's very kind of you. You say that you have not been engaging so much, but I feel that whenever I have reached you with some thoughts and some ideas, right from doing the World Water Week and even Odisha and other things as well, with our ongoing sessions going on, and some comments, you are always ready to tell even small things which you would like me to correct. And I'm learning a lot from all the women, to be honest, personally, but also trying to see how can we really see this 1 year has just passed by to know each other. I mean, the Monday Munching itself is a process where we can know each of you better, you know. So now I was actually telling Anubhuti and Vandana that sometime probably you will have to ask me these questions and I have to go through the same. So that it is fair for all. Otherwise, it's like I'm asking all the questions to everyone and nobody's asking me. So it has to be fair play. So thank.
Anubhuti, for the next one in September, we are going to now grill Mansi. So you and me, and then it's Mansi, right?
Okay,
So
so
as
we have a
the
date.
okay, we have a date. So as the outreach coordinator, Mansi, I formally would like to interview you and have a Monday session with
Promise.
you.
And that I think date is already set with Anubhuti has all. She's our lead for this session. So I'm very proud of our young scholars and council members who are leading this, to be honest. And thank you so much, Swayam. I hand it over to Anubhuti for some interesting questions from the youth perspective. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mansi, for asking those wonderful questions. Thank you so much, Dr. Swayam, for all those insights that you have given us. I'm sure we will get time to talk about all the talk shows and the other stuffs. My next question. My
Right
next
shop.
Right shops. Yes.
talk shops and ride shops. Yeah. So my next question to you is, any message that you would like to share with the youth who are entering the water field, or anything specific to the women who are entering the water field? Any message that you...
The message is like, whatever you do, do it from your heart. It's never a lip service. And water connects everyone. Everyone is connected with water. So you cannot not talk water. So do it from your heart. Whatever you do it from your heart. Even if you're writing 2 lines, do it from your heart. Because what you do from your heart is what reverberates. The vibrations are very strong. And those vibrations are actually what drives us all on this planet. So do it from your heart. And water connects. Thank you.
Right. My next question is, what do you think we as youth should do to engender water? Like, you being a professional for so long, how would you guide us in few words that you would like to share with us? How can we contribute to engender water?
You can't engender water, right? Water is genderless. So you can't engender water. That's the first thing. The second thing I would say is water has a memory. So always remember that whatever you do, however you treat water, it'll always pay you back, right? So whenever you're working in the water sector, be mindful of these things. That water, if it nourishes, it can also destroy, right? So it can destroy. We have droughts, we have floods. It can destroy. And it also nourishes. We all start with drinking a glass of water in the morning, right? So it nourishes. So remember, water is more powerful than anything else, even your thoughts. So be like a flowing water, be gentle, and be like the rapids when you're facing hurdles. So that's how you should be. That's how your life should be as a youth. It's like, be gentle, flow well, nourish. But when you have rapids, when you have challenges, pick up speed. Cut through the rocks. You can do it. That's what the power of water is. So you have to first imbibe the properties of the water to be working on water. And that's very important. Once you hold water to your chest, to your heart, it will guide you. And just be unbiased and be fair. And everything is sorted. Everything, trust me, Anubhuti, is sorted. And youth, you guys wield the power. You are catalysts of change. But do it honestly. Do it with conviction. Do it with love and passion. And water, as I said, doesn't have a gender. So never try to engender water. Make sure that women, men, children, elderlies, all of them have a fair play. All of them have a fair chance. Like the UN says, no, leave no one behind. That's what water is all about. It never chooses. So that's what my message is for the youth.
Right. Thank you so much, Dr. Swayam. On that note, I would like to end the session. May you remain an inspiration to others as well. I hope that you enjoyed this session. We are so grateful to have learned about you and your water endeavors. May you continue your water activities, and please keep us posted with all the engagements that you are engaged with. We look forward to the coming Mondays to learn more from the women in the water sector. We will continue with the Monday Munching and Musing on every Monday at 5 p.m. For regular updates, please follow our social media platforms. Thank you. Do take care. See you on the next Monday and the Mondays to come. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anubhuti. I really enjoyed this session with you. Thank you, Mansi. This was the most de-stressing session I've ever had in a long time. Trust me. I enjoyed our conversation, and let's hope that we are all enjoying our lives and May it be like a smooth flowing river for all of us. Thank
Yes.
you so much.
Thank you. Be like water and I am water. We have to live like that, as
I
you
am.
rightly said. Thank you so much, Anubhuti and Swayam. Yeah.